All right, so welcome back. Something else different today. So I know, back in front of the camera instead of building, I'm just getting lazy. What can I tell you? But wanted to do this video a little different for a very specific reason, and that is thank you. I have passed 500 subscribers. So to all of you who have been subscribing, watching, and hopefully enjoying the videos, thank you very much. So that's an exciting thing for me because I started this, just for fun and trying to help out people who would be interested in the hobby. And uh, here we are now. So, and I mean we, because if nobody was watching, I probably would have just gone back to building and stopped making videos. So, um, this feels pretty good. So thank you again. Thank you. And as always, the YouTube stuff. If you're enjoying the videos and whatnot, please do like, subscribe, hit the alert button, all of that good stuff. But today, as I was sitting here looking at the as yet untouched Revell Nova that I was going to build, I realized, time is a funny thing. So let's talk about time. Time in terms of how long does it take to build a kit? Or maybe the misconception of how long it should take to build a kit. And the reason I bring it up is I notice in a lot of the other build videos that I watch from other people out there, people don't always mention how long they take to finish their build. And whether it's something simple, like our little Bug Easy Click, or something that becomes involved, like the Panther G, there's an important thing to consider, which is the time. Now, my rule of thumb with this comes from something very simple, and this is part of the reason why this idea came to me. So one of my boats, shameless plug, here we go. No, but if you watch my video, or it's not out yet, but when I do the build video for the Nova, I do talk about my book a little bit, one of my books, this one a little bit. But the point being, I love to go off on my tangents. The point being with the book is when I've done presentations on writing and whatnot, one of the questions I commonly get is, how do you know how long a story should be? And my answer is always, I let the story decide that for me. So I generally have a rough idea when I start writing a piece, how long it's going to be, 5,000, 20,000, 70 to 100,000 for a book length. I have a vague idea of that before I start, but once I start writing, then I know for sure. And I have applied the same logic to, or the same reasoning to building the kits. So when I look at something like our good friend, Mr. Revell Bug Easy Click, I looked at that and I realized this is going to be a quick build. Not just because it's Easy Click, but I wanted to keep it simple. That was my intent from the outset. So that went quickly. The nifty race car here from J.R. Salvino's. I looked at this thinking this should be a moderate length build. From my previous postings, I usually do about a kit a month, thereabouts. I was expecting a similar thing with this, but surprise, surprise, and if you've watched that video, you'll have seen my comments on it. When I went to build this kit, I found there was a lot of flash, a tremendous amount of cleanup that had to be done on the parts. So as soon as I started working with this, I realized this guy's going to take a little bit longer. In contrast to when I opened the box for the Panther Riffield, even at the point when I bought this, I knew this was going to be a serious undertaking because of the detail. You're talking, I think it's close to 1,000 parts in this kit. So clearly starting this is going to be a very different time frame than working with the VW Bug. So to go vector back to writing as an analogy, sometimes when people ask me, how many words does it take you to tell a story, that you want to tell? And my answer is as many words as it takes, which doesn't really sound like a good answer, but it goes back to that point of when I start something, I let the project dictate to me or suggest to me how long it's going to take me to get to what I want to do. So clear point there. Model kits are no different when you work with these. Knowing where you want to go, looking at what you have to work with, you can get a rough idea of how long it's going to take. So, next question, or the underlying question, who cares? Why is it even important? Well, I bring it up because since I gear a lot of these videos towards people who are getting into the hobby or coming back to the hobby, basically people who are relatively new to building, even if it's, again, being able to finish a project is very important. Just like with writing, the first story you finish is very important. So building a kit and getting it to completion is very important. So understanding that it's going to take a certain amount of time is good to know. And getting that sense and having that sensibility before you start certainly helps allay any sense of frustration that might build if you feel like, gee, I've been working on this kit forever and I'm still not done yet. So when am I going to get done? You'll get done when you're ready to be done with it. Now, in other videos where I have talked about building kits, I've said, I want to add this detail and that detail, or I want to work on this or that, and then I draw the line. And it's because for that particular project, I realized I've gone as far as I want to go with it, and that's it. Now I'm just going to continue as it is out of box. Most of my builds are pretty well out of box. This, obviously, I went extra building the base and whatnot. Here, the extra was doing the cleanup and whatnot, but otherwise, this basically came out of box, aside from the wire on the engines, and the Revell bug was completely out of box. So, that's the lecture for the day. When you start your kit, don't be so concerned about time. Look at what you want to do, figure out where you want to go with it, be realistic about the amount of time you can devote to what you want to do, and that will certainly give you an idea of how long it might take to get there. But please do yourself a favor and don't look at this as, oh man, I'm a week behind. This is a hobby. This is your fun time. It takes as long as it takes. So I know the frustration sometimes of looking at a kit and feeling like, I haven't had the time to work on it. But that's the source of when I feel like the kit is taking too long, because I simply haven't had the time to get to it. Case in point, right in front of me, the Nova that I want to build. Now, I first unboxed this and did the first part of the video for the build, going through the parts and whatnot. Oh, it's just about a month ago now, and I have done exactly zero with it since then. Why is that? Would I like to be done with it? Of course. But it's summertime, at least right now as I'm filming this, and I have activities with my authors group. I have things I want to do with friends and family on the weekends. All this stuff is more important than sitting here and doing the hobby. As much as recreation time is important, I have, in my world, valued those other things that I want to do those first. So the great thing with the hobby, and writing as well, it's there and it's ready for you when you're ready to sit down with it. So be realistic about your time. Don't stress about time. Build it in the time you need to build it. Just understand what you want to commit to the time beforehand. So there you go. One last comment before I go on this topic. In some videos where people do talk about time, you may be watching a build video and think, oh, this person says they did the build in 2 days. Okay. I will refer that to HPI Guy's workshop. I am not criticizing at all. Please understand that. In the time it takes for those builds, I think he does a beautiful job with them. But the reason I bring up, and he mentions it himself in many of his build videos, that he is building on a very tight time frame because he's building straight out of box, and he's presenting his videos in the context of an out of box build review. because he's able to get kits hot off the presses, so to speak. Timeliness for him obviously is very important. So getting the build out quick is a priority. So how he's looking at a time frame for building is very different than, say, how I'm looking at a time frame for building. I know I'm not going to be, you know, Johnny on the spot when a kit comes out and having a finished product. I buy kits when I see neat ones that come out and add them to my stash, but it may be a year or more, often more, before I actually sit down to build it. I am doing my videos from a building perspective. So clearly when I comment on the kits, there are some parts of a review, so to speak, in there. I talk about how well it goes together, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to go into all of that, but just to the point of when people talk about that you hear in build videos, how long they're investing into their build or how quickly they get their build done, just keep in mind the context in which they're doing it. Likewise, I run into the same thing when I speak to other authors about writing. Some authors say, oh, I banged out a book in a month. That's fantastic. I am happy for them. But I don't compare that to my ability to put out material. So there we go. And I already said it, but I'll say it again. Lecture for the day. Okay, so again, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for viewing. Really is a surprise to me. Thank you very much. So I am going to say goodbye now and hopefully get to work on this Nova. So hopefully the next time there's a video, you won't have to look at me. You'll be looking at this, and this nifty machine will then be done. So that's the plan. All depends on the time. Okay. All right. Thank you. Goodbye.